Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Disc Connected, here with Deaf Crocodiles, Dennis Bartok and Craig Rogers, and a mysterious third party, Jesse from Cauldron Films and Diabolic. Welcome, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you again, Ryan.
Well, we are here primarily to say what is going on in the immediate future with Deaf Crocodile. So, Craig, you want to break the news to everybody of what's happening at the moment?
Well, it probably isn't, like I said, a huge surprise, but with Ruslan and Ludmilla being released, which was actually going to complete our contract with OCN, and we did not renew with them. So after Ruslan and Ludmilla, we'll be releasing solo with Jesse as a partner with our new limited editions. Will be exclusive through Diabolic, and he's going to also be handling the fulfillment for all our orders, whether it's through Diabolic or through our own shop. And we're pretty excited because we're going to be doing lots of cool, fun stuff. The limited editions will be more than a slipcover, so they're going to be very nice. We'll have some images for you for that. You can show people, and we're just very excited that we're moving onward and upward.
We're getting into the Jesse Nelson Diabolic business.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to have you guys. You know, I recommend things to people all the time, and I always say, you know, not everything's for me, but there's certain labels that really are, that speak to me, and Deaf Crocodile is definitely one of those. I think the other one, if Mondo Macabro came to me and said, "Can you guys help me out with fulfillment too?" I think I'd be pretty thrilled. That would be two of the big ones for me.
Yeah, when it comes to the fulfillment end of things, you were the first person I thought of, because I think I've told you personally before. I kind of pride myself on how we pack and ship orders, and it's all based on I've bought from you, and the stuff comes packed properly and safely and securely, and like that's how it should be done. So it's like, you know, if we're going to hand our baby over to somebody else to deliver, I feel safe with it in your hands.
Thank you. That means the world to me, so I'm so glad to hear it.
Yeah,
we've spent so many years changing and evolving our packaging to the way it is now, and I'm glad to hear that it makes people happy the way we send things out.
Yeah, well, as you could probably tell, I'm a little bit of a vinyl buff, and when I lived in New York City in the '80s, I used to go into record stores and I would look around, and they would have all these rare, you know, like 50s doo-wop and 60s psych and garage albums on the wall, and I would just go, "Oh my God," you know, it was like Aladdin's cave. And when I go into the Diabolic site, it's the same experience. I'm like, "I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that, I gotta get this, and this." And I'm sure, like, I speak for many film fans out there that it has kind of become the Aladdin's treasure cave of wonders around the world. Literally, there's nowhere else you're going to find. I think I just bought, was it Playgirls of Frankfurt?
Yeah,
an import from you. Like,
I hear that's great too. It's in my pile of things to watch.
I have not watched it yet, but like you, I have a bit of a pile of things to watch. But
yeah, I had to move some piles out so they just weren't toppling over here behind me.
Yeah,
I think that's. Go ahead, Craig.
You've got the you log into your account and you can have a want list feature, because every time I go to your site to buy one thing, I see like 5 others, and I'm like, I can't buy all this, but like it's easy just to throw it in the want list, you know, and then, you know, I can just pick at that pile every time I log in.
Yeah, you know, that's funny is because when I always think about, I need to watch that movie, someone recommended to me the Ryan Gosling movie Lost River today. I was like, you know, I I totally forgot that movie existed. I'm going to put that on my list. And if I don't pick that up or buy it soon, I'm going to forget all about it again. If it's not in a pile in my office here, it's going to go right out of my brain.
And of course, it's out of print on Blu-ray already.
No, it's not. I don't think so.
Oh, right. I tried looking today. I couldn't find it anywhere. Yeah.
Wait, you were looking for that today too?
Because that tweet went fairly like semi-viral among physical media fans. Yeah. Yeah, looked all over Amazon. I looked on your site. I looked on Orbit. Looked everywhere. Could not find it anywhere.
I'm going to go. I'm going to slyly order it here on my phone from where I did find it earlier.
If you happen to find 2 copies, let me know.
Okay. What is it that they say about drug dealers is you're not supposed to use your own supply?
Yeah, exactly.
We're all drug dealers who are using our own supply here. Because all we do is talk about like, and I got to buy this and I got to get that. And
well, the big thing I'm excited for with Deaf Crocodile, with Diabolic, is everybody, and this is not meant as like a kiss-up fest for Jesse or anything like that, but as I've been working with more of these labels behind the scenes with my production company, there's really only like 2 or 3 names that everybody says, yeah, they're amazing people. I trust them wholeheartedly, and Jesse's kind of the first one that everybody always recommends for that. So,
man, this is really turning into a love fest. I always get up late and comb my hair.
What I love most about Jesse are when he posts messages he's received from irate customers.
Let's not talk about that.
Names barely deleted, sort of, not really, on social media, and they're just fantastic.
I just
you get some weird messages. People have some weird expectations.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, to go back to Deaf Crocodile, first, congrats on the Kickstarter. I mean, I'd love to hear your reaction to that, because you're at almost 4.5 times the goal at this point at time of recording.
Almost 85,000 now, I think. I looked last, and it's definitely in that period in the middle where we just get a few pledges trickle in. We'll get another little bump towards the end, but it's with Kickstarter, it's an all or nothing. Like, if you don't meet your goal, you don't get anything. So I tend to try and figure out, like, how much is all this stuff going to cost, to make the box and the new slips and all that. And then try to go a little above that, because they're going to take their cut, and then hope, it's like, I hope we get that. And when we reached our goal in under 2 hours, I was like, oh, that was surprising.
we thought most of the people would just be buying the empty box.
Yeah, totally.
Like, we thought that our target market was really people who had the other 3 Ptuško films we've already put out, Ilya Muramet's Sampo and The Tale of Tsar Sultan, and that some people might want to get it with Ruslan and Ludmilla, but basically that would be it. And it wasn't until fairly late in the game, before we launched, that we started talking about, well, maybe we should offer the option of having all 4 films. And that by far has driven the Kickstarter. So there's a ton of people out there who clearly didn't buy any of the previous Ptuško films that are like, oh, okay, now that I can get them as a box set of 4,
there's a whole different group of people that we're reaching that didn't know we existed, or that we had released these films, which is, that's pretty exciting. That, we were banking on, like you said, that we wanted to offer the box by itself, and we wanted to offer the box plus the 4th film, because we essentially thought that's who's going to buy it, is people that already have the other films. So, it's super exciting, especially on the eve of us, kind of leaving OCN's nest. Like, we're like, oh, there are other people out there. That's exciting.
This is a little off topic, but you guys just reminded me of back in the early days of Diabolic. All of these films were available. These Russian films were available from Ruskiko, and we carried them on the site, and they were big for us. We mostly were carrying like Hong Kong stuff and some horror stuff, And then these Russian fairy tale movies did so well for us, especially V, which is, another animal. But we got them from a shop in Brighton Beach that was Russian owned, and we had to fax them only. There was no email. We couldn't call them. We had to send them a fax and let them know what we wanted with our credit card written on there. And like a week later, they would just show up.
That's
which
amazing.
Was really crazy to think that we did that. And we're probably indebted to some mobster somewhere that I don't even know about. It's going to be some weird Guy Ritchie movie in my life real soon.
I have to say, I really wish Alexander Ptuško were still around to see the amazing response. I hope wherever his spirit is bouncing around up in the cosmos, that he's smiling. He started in the Russian film industry, I think maybe 3 years after Mosfilm itself started, around 1924. So he started in the late 20s, made his first feature movies in the early 30s, and his career kind of paralleled the development of Soviet cinema for decades, from the late silent era up through the early 70s. Ruslan and Lyudmila was his last feature, and for me is kind of his Beatles Red and Blue album. It's like a greatest hits package. It's 2.5 hours long. It's 2-part, and he kind of threw everything that he knew and loved about fantasy filmmaking and visual effects and production design and kind of fairy tale, folk tale filmmaking into it. So, if you're gonna start with a single Ptuško film, Ruslan and Lyudmila is a great one to sort of explain why he was such a wonderful fantasy filmmaker. And, I organized a retrospective of his movies in around 2000, 2001 with Oliver Lotsky at Seagull Films, who's our kind of partner in crime on releasing these Russian films. And we screened it out here in LA at the American Cinematheque, and then we toured it around to a number of cinematheques and film museums around the U.S. And but there were a couple titles that we weren't able to get, and amazingly, it's been some of the ones that we've now been able to release on Blu-ray, like Ilya Muromets and Sampo, and there's still a bunch of other ones that we would love to see restored and to put out. So we're working on those. But the fact that we've actually put out 4 Ptuško movies on Blu-ray in the past 2 years, to me, is kind of mind-blowing, because I love his work so much. And again, we're just lucky enough to be able to sort of shine a light on it and offer beautiful Blu-ray editions. But he and all his collaborators, the actors, the writers, the cinematographer, everything, they were the ones who created these beautiful, beautiful movies.
Yeah, the analog in-camera effects, whether they're camera tricks or just insane set pieces, it's just kind of mind-blowing. The visuals, some of the stuff you see, you're like, they really did that. That's just, it blows your mind. The fire breathing dragon, it's really breathing 50-foot flames.
No, it's like spitting napalm. I think it's like a Soviet army flamethrower.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely
you look and you're
incredible.
Like, these people got incinerated making this movie.
It's absolutely incredible.
I swear when the Kickstarter launched, there was the second wave of people remembering that they had seen Ilya Muromets or the alternate cut. I don't remember the title right now, but
the Sword and the Dragon.
Right, Sword and the Dragon. So they remembered seeing that as a kid and then going, "Oh my God, I forgot all about this." And it was as big as when Ilya Muromets was first announced on Blue, and now I swear this Kickstarter exploded right after that, and it seems like all kinds of people discovered it just seemingly out of nowhere. I'm still blown away at the success you guys have had with this round.
Yeah, we're pretty darn happy. And like I said, the biggest thing it gets me excited is less the amount of money it's raising. That most of these people didn't know who Deaf Crocodile was. Like, that's
Right.
super exciting for me. Like, this is a whole new audience that's excited to get these films. They didn't realize that they were available, and and if they dig that stuff, they're probably going to dig a lot of the other stuff we do.
Yeah.
Well, when we put out the first two, Ilya Muromets and Sampo, we were very fortunate to get permission from Tim Lucas and his late wife, sadly late wife Donna Lucas, who published Video Watchdog magazine for years, which really was so far ahead of the curve on a lot of these incredible kind of unheralded filmmakers and film genres around the world. And they early on published a really extensive 2-part article by the film scholar Alan Upchurch, who I knew briefly towards the end of his life. He sadly died of AIDS in the early mid-90s. But Alan was an early champion of the work of Mario Bava and Riccardo Freda and these great Italian Gothic horror directors, and in fact collected prints of a lot of their movies. And then he was also a huge champion and did some of the first, and still to this day, best research into Alexander Ptuško's work. So we were able to reprint with Tim and Donna Lucas's kind permission, this long, like 37, 38 page article that Alan had written before he passed away. And that also is really lovely, that his sort of pioneering scholarship and awareness, trying to build awareness for Ptuško's work as a major fantasy filmmaker, finally kind of gets its due, because he's been gone for so long now. I mean, it's 30 years, but the people can appreciate how far ahead of the curve Alan Upchurch was. And
as far as being ahead of the curve is, he's writing this scholarly appreciation of the films, at the same time it's being mocked on Mystery Science Theater. Like,
right.
One of them was right.
We were talking about that the other day, about Mystery Science Theater, and how sometimes I like the show and it's funny, but sometimes they really get into things making fun of movies that I love, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this.
Happen too often.
I remember it's actually my wife, Maria, and I had just started dating, and they did an opera production of Hercules in the Haunted World. Do you guys remember hearing about this?
No.
They mounted it here in LA, I think at the Music Center or the Amundsen. And we went to see it because I love Hercules in the Haunted World. It's one of my very favorite Bava films. I think it's one of the great fantasy movies. Just this incredible, bejeweled, like color phantasmagoria. Just love it. Everything about it. So we go down to see it, and essentially they were kind of mocking the film, making fun of it throughout. They showed an edited version of it that was cropped from, they didn't even have the correct aspect ratio, and they chopped like 25 minutes out of the movie. So the whole experience was, look at how dumb and hokey and ridiculous this Italian muscle man movie is. And people were laughing and enjoying themselves, and I'm like, yeah, but you're actually not seeing Hercules in the Haunted World, and this is a fucking great film. And this is really a kind of a travesty. And I remember a couple days later, I got a call out of the blue from Barbara Steele, who I knew from the Cinematheque. She was asking me for some help, possibly finding rights contacts overseas for some of the movies she made many years ago. And she said, "Did you go see Hercules in the Heart of the World?" I said, "Yes, I thought it was pretty awful." And she says, "Oh my God, I thought so too." And then she took a pause and she goes, "You don't think they're going to do that to Black Sunday, do you?" And I was like, no, I hope they don't do it to Black Sunday. But I knew what she was talking about. She was like, these, it's almost like you're still fighting the fight to convince people that genre cinema should be taken as seriously
the thing is,
as any other form of
anything put in a different context, you can completely change what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really funny, but there's a trailer floating around the internet for The Shining, which makes it look like a family comedy. And the trailer completely works. If you didn't know the film at all, you would think this was like some Jack Nicholson comedy from the 80s. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of cheaty, especially if, in that case, it's, everyone knows what they're doing. But like, you're going to an opera about a film, and they just completely turn it into something else without, it seems like you should at least have something in the playbill. It's like, this movie isn't stupid. Like,
right.
We're just having fun.
They've also done the film on Mystery Science Theater, so did they not? Yeah, Hercules in the Heart of the World is on Mystery Science Theater as well. So
full circle.
And I love Mystery Science Theater. We had, one of the guys, one of the creators of the show, did a wonderful interview that we included on the Sampo release. That was great. I mean, I actually love watching the Day the Earth Froze and the Sword and the Dragon episodes, and a lot of their things is brilliant. But I also want to go watch the movie separate so that I can actually see
in the correct aspect ratio.
It's funny. Reminds me years ago. Also, Mario Bava. It's just like all things. Mario Bava. All roads lead to Mario Bava eventually. We were doing one of our Bava retrospectives at the Cinematheque, and we were screening The Whip in the Body. His wonderful sort of S&M tinged gothic horror with Christopher Lee, dubbed, unfortunately, and Dahlia Lavi. And somebody came out into the lobby enraged, saying, "People are laughing in there and you need to stop them. Because this is a really wonderful, beautiful movie and people shouldn't be laughing at it." And I said, I am not the behavior police. Like, I'm not going to go in there and tell people that they shouldn't laugh or cry or groan. Like they're going to respond how they respond.
Yeah.
So
I'll be the please stop talking police, but yes. I don't know how you make somebody stop laughing. And we've had experiences where when we're showing things that part of the appeal is just how wild things get and how enjoyable it is that everybody's getting into it. But things like Burial Ground and Patrick Still Lives, and that are just so outrageous that people are laughing and carrying on. And I wouldn't want that any other way.
Right.
Those movies are best enjoyed with that kind of audience.
Jesse, since you're here, I want to know how did you start Diabolic? How did it get? What was the genesis?
The short version is, we do these screenings, Exhumed Films, here in the Philadelphia area. Right. And when we started doing them, it was right in the dying days of video stores. And I would go around to video stores and collect all the horror tapes that they were getting rid of. I'd go to flea markets and the video stores, and they were just trying to get rid of them. People would cry if they knew how many copies of Fulci's Zombie I had in the big box that I sold for next to nothing back in the day. So anyway, we would bring them to the shows and put them out on a table, and they would all sell. I mean, I hardly ever went home with anything. And, you know, as that market started drying up, we were looking for something else to sell in the lobby of our shows. And it turned into DVDs, which was the next evolution of home video. And then here we are so many years later.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, Jesse, you're going to love this. I meant to take a screenshot and send it to you. There was a couple weeks ago, somebody was talking about the most recent Arrow sale and how the prices weren't super appealing for the U.S. Arrow titles. And somebody had said, back in the old day of Diabolic, prices were so much better. And somebody asked them a question, and they responded that they were referring to 2019.
Yeah, what? Okay.
Back in the olden days.
Yeah. It's so in the long ago, in the far, far away, prices were much different.
Yeah, I have socks older than that.
Well, I mean,
I think we started chasing the Savage Hunt of King Stack earlier than 2019.
Oh, yeah.
We did, actually. I think we first started trying to negotiate with them. Like, we have deals that are older than that.
Yeah.
We are now seeing multiple labels that have been with the OCN now partnering with Diabolic. So obviously people are trusting Jesse and everything that you've been doing. Is there what's the best way to ask this without getting a very specific response? Is this something that people can expect? Is there more to come? Because obviously the appeal behind OCN was you can get everything in one place. And for many of us, all worldwide, you're all ready to go into Diabolic. They ship worldwide, you're getting good service, and now you've got the appeal of, you know, exclusives from Deaf Crocodile, from Altered Innocence, from Cauldron. There's a lot to offer here.
It's true. I don't have any other news at this time. And Altered Innocence, to be fair, we're just kind of doing their limited edition for them.
Right.
They're partnering with somebody else for their normal retail editions. But, you know, it's not something I set out to do. You know, when Dennis and Craig came to me with this idea, and they were just shopping around too.
Right.
But, you know, it felt like a good fit. So, you know, there may be more in the future, but right now I'm not actively pursuing anything.
Well, one of the things that the partnership helps with is now Deaf Crocodile has the opportunity to do bigger and better things that they'd been hoping to do for quite some time. Can you guys share what kind of releases we can expect? Not necessarily titles, but what kind of changes we will see?
We've got a bunch of stuff. I mean, we could tell you what some of the titles are. So our first official release with Jesse, a limited edition slipcase, and a new kind of longer 60-page booklet is just mentioned the Savage Hunt of King Stack. It's this amazing Belarusian folk horror movie that I literally first heard about over almost 35 years ago when I first came to work at the Cinematheque, and was on this little list that I kind of keep in the back of my head of really rare, obscure titles.
It's a large list.
Yeah.
It's a large list.
We all have that list, right? So, there's a list in the back of my brain. It's a, you know, that, not to interrupt you, but man, sometimes I just cry when those things get crossed off my list, but not by me.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of those already just since we've started Deaf Crocodile. That a couple of titles that I've had on my wish list since our Cinelicious days, and then I hear something announced, and I'm just like, duh. I'm just at least happy it's coming out at least.
Yeah, that's what I always say too. I always say, I wish it was me, but you know, at least I'm going to get this great version of it.
Yeah. There's a wonderful Italian film shot in the early 60s in LA called Smog that was recently restored by the UCLA Film Archive working with Warner Brothers. And we had chased it down for years because it's got all this incredible shots of mid-century LA architecture. It was all shot on location. And it's this incredible time capsule kind of document of what LA looked like at that moment, and now is of course almost entirely gone. And then found out that it was being restored and now is going to be released by someone else. And part of me was like, damn. But then I'm also like, well, people are going to get to see this great movie.
Right.
So Savage Hunt of King Stack is going to come out in July. After that, in no particular order, we're putting out our second Oldrich Lipsky, Yuri Berdechka, Czech kind of fantasy horror sci-fi film, which is Adela Has Not Had Supper Yet, which is their wonderful kind of detective man-eating plant comedy. It has this incredible carnivorous plant like Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors that was created by Jan Švankmajer. And weirdly, it's the third film. We haven't been able to put out any Jan Švankmajer movies, which we would love to do and have actually tried to. But we've put out 3 films that he did creature effects or monster, makeup for. The Visitors from the Arcana Galaxy, the Dusan Vukotic Croatian sci-fi fantasy film. The Mysterious Castle in the Carpathians, which was also an Oldrich Lipsky, Yuri Berdechka collaboration, and now Adela Has Not Had Supper Yet. And we actually tried to get Švankmajer to talk to us about them, and the response we got was, no, he's not interested. No, he just did that. He did that to pay the bills. He doesn't want to talk about it. I was like, oh.
Yeah, Adela's got some really cool, like steampunk gadgetry throughout it. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's super inventive. Let's see. We are putting out. God, what
after that is the.
What can we? I mean, I guess we could.
Well, I mean, that was one of the other benefits of is we can talk about whatever we want, whenever we want now. So yeah, the Karen Shakhnazarov, who did Assassin of the Tsar and Zero Grad, that have both people seem to really like. It's his new film. That'll be coming out. That's based on a Sherlock Holmes. What was do you remember this?
It's based on The Sign of Four, which is a very famous Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle story, but does not have Sherlock Holmes or Dr. Watson in it, which is kind of amazing. And instead, he took 2 actual characters from Russian history in the late 1800s, early 1900s. One of them, Konstantin Stanislavski, is very famous for his acting, his work as an acting teacher, the Stanislavski method. You've probably heard of. And was a theater director. And the other was a journalist named Gilyarovsky, who wrote about the slums of Moscow, and in particular an area called Petrovka, which was sort of like Moscow's Whitechapel, or like the Mos Eisley spaceport. It was like a hive of scum and villainy. And it was so bad that after the communist revolution, they tried to clean it out and couldn't, and so they had the communist army surround the neighborhood with like 10,000 soldiers, and they told everyone in the district, you have like 3 days to leave.
Jeez.
And they literally just cleared it out till it was a ghost town. And it's still like Petrovka Square is still there in Moscow, but of course the neighborhood itself is long gone. But he sort of melded the stories of the Petrovka slums with The Sign of Four. And if you're a fan of like the recent kind Kenneth Branagh, Hercule Poirot films, or the old, Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes series. It's like a period detective. It's great. It's super fun, beautiful to look at, beautiful production design, cinematography.
Yeah,
great.
the sets and costumes and cinematography are gorgeous.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's a fun period piece detective, mystery. So it's another. We don't put out a whole lot of new films, but that's a new one.
There is. Okay, I don't think we haven't announced this yet anywhere, but because we're super excited, and it's a film that we've been working on for a little while now. There's this amazing Irish folk horror movie, witchcraft film that we're going to be putting out towards the end of the year, called The Outcasts, in a beautiful new restoration from the Irish Film Institute Film Archive. And it was written and directed by a British filmmaker who lived in Ireland at the time. This is the early 1980s. It was one of the earliest Irish Film Board productions. And his name is Robert Wynne Simmons. And folk horror fans will know him because he wrote Blood on Satan's Claw. Mm-hmm. And while there are some connections and similarities, and this is The Outcast, it's a witchcraft movie, it's a ghost story, it is a folk horror film, but it's also this really beautiful, haunting, and poetic film about just how brutal and miserable life was. Like if you were a poor farmer in Ireland in the early 1800s, and it's about a young woman who's kind of odd and she is really an outcast who is accused of witchcraft by people in the local community. And it is really remarkable. And Wynne Simmons is, thank God, is still alive. He lives overseas in Germany now, and delighted that we're going to be putting the film out here for the first time in the U.S., and is also, it turns out, was an incredibly prolific, teenage filmmaker. Like when he was 14, he went out and made these 20, 30 minute kind of occult fantasy movies. One he shot in a house that was owned by Mary Shelley of Frankenstein fame. Another, I kid you not, features a young Peter O'Toole and Charlton Heston. I did not believe it until we saw it. And then another is this incredible 25-minute kind of eerie fantasy sci-fi called The Scrolls that is almost like an episode of The Avengers meets The Prisoner, the old Patrick McGoohan. And he was 15 years old.
I mean, they're
making these in Wales, and this eerie, beautiful cinematography of the Welsh landscape. And tell him about
they're
literally found the reels in a shoebox.
Yeah, they're 8mm, because he had sent us, he had the stuff telecined ages ago, and he had this little DVD, and so we saw him, and it was pretty rough condition, but he had said that that's all he had. The film was gone, and then about a month or two later, he emailed us. He's like, I found the film, the 8mm film.
Wow.
So we had all that stuff scanned.
Yeah.
It looks a lot better than an old telecine from 30, 40 years ago. But the wild thing is it's all 8mm. He shot it all when he was a teen. So they're all silent, but they're not completely silent, because he then went with a tape recorder, and then he edited in and tried just to live sync it, some dialogue, sound effects, all music. So we've got the audio from the original telecine and it's not, it's not hard sync anyway. So we'll be able to get the sound that he put together with his like tape recorder to sync with the pieces that he has. Yeah, he's got this one short. It's maybe 7-8 minutes long, where there's somebody trying to get rid of this bomb, and everywhere he puts it, he can't leave it there. Or someone takes it, and so it's just like this comedy of trying to get rid of this bomb. And at one point, I'm watching it, and I'm like, wait a second, and I pause it, and I go back, and I was like, there's a 3-second quick shot of
Sammy Davis
Jr. And I'm like, where did this kid he's got Charlton Heston and Peter O'Toole and Sammy Davis Jr.
and Michael Redgrave and Anthony Quayle. Apparently, one of his best friends at boarding school was the son of the guy that shot Dr. Strangelove.
Oh,
jeez. He was a big cinematographer. So apparently he had access to a camera, and they would go hang out at the stage doors of London theaters and wait for Peter O'Toole or Charlton Heston, who I think was doing Shakespeare, whoever, and, say, hey, we're making a movie. Will you be in it? And I guess these famous actors were so charmed, they were like, sure. And to me, this is like what's part of what's super cool about what we do with Jesse, Ryan, what you do is that you're able to preserve these little ephemeral bits of film history that would have disappeared, would just like slip through the cracks. It's often, we get so excited about the features, but I have to say we're almost equally excited about a lot of the short contents or the interviews or things that we do that help document these movies, especially when the filmmaker is still around and can, going back to what I said about Ptuško wishing he were still here, Robert Wynne Simmons is still alive, and it's great that he's going to be able to see this truly. I mean, The Outcast is a truly remarkable movie that combines several different genres and is a major kind of. It's not lost because it's being restored right now, but has kind of been unseen major Irish film for many, many years. So that's one that we're really excited about, and it's the first time we haven't talked about it in public. So
yeah, and just weird coincidences. Like I play tennis every weekend with a guy from Ireland, and I mentioned like when we were going to do the Outcasts, and he's like, I know the guy who did the soundtrack for that. So he put us in touch with the guy who did the music for the film. So we're
Steve Cooney.
Yeah,
an Australian musician who moved to Ireland and is he's played with like the Chieftains. There's a clip of him playing in like a pub in Ireland, and Dolly Parton comes in and he backs her up, and it's one of the sweetest, most amazing things. Like 30 years ago. Yeah. Like if you go on YouTube.
Yeah, my friend was saying, he's like, yeah, I remember going out with him, and he was recording. He's like, we climbed up on this hill, and he was just recording the sound of the wind to like incorporate into like his music. And he was just like, yeah, he's like, I think I can get you in touch with him. I'm like, yeah. Small world.
That is one of the things I appreciate most about Deaf Crocodile, and funny enough about Cauldron too. I mean, the amount of people that you all have been able to track down that are a part of these original productions, like with Cauldron, with Eugenio Ercolani on the ground in Italy, getting the most random ass interviews that are like, yeah, four of us dated at the time, and we're all just involved in the production. You're like, how do you get all this? And Eugenio just knows everybody. It seems like
he knows everybody. It's crazy.
And then Craig just plays tennis and happens to get a...
Yeah.
Oh, man. I can't wait to see some of those shorts. That sounds remarkable.
Yeah, the shorts are wild. But yeah, we also coming up, Dennis, you should tell him about the October film, because that's yours.
Oh, okay. So We haven't talked about this either, but we're going to be putting out for the first time on Blu-ray the first film that I made, that I produced and wrote, Trapped Ashes, with segments directed by Joe Dante, Ken Russell, Monty Hellman, John Gaeta, and Sean Cunningham.
It's exciting.
So we actually I had to license my own film, and it was actually not an easy negotiation.
It was kind of ridiculous. We've had many contracts that were much quicker to get done than the one for Dennis's own film.
I mean, I have partners, so I had to.
Yeah, it wasn't Dennis's fault.
It was starting to drag on, and there's some deals that we've done, and it like happens in like 3-4 months, and this was going on and on and on, and I was like, okay, this would be ridiculous if I can't actually license my own movie.
I can't track down the rights. What happened?
So the film materials are stored here in LA at the Academy Film Archive. I have them on deposit there, so we're going to do a brand new scan and new interviews, and it'll look, kind of better than it ever did, unless you screened a 35 millimeter print of it. So that's super exciting. We're going to put that out in October for Halloween.
That's awesome.
For film. Yeah. Of course, the bittersweet thing is that a number of the people that we made the film with back in 2005, 2006, Monty Hellman, who's kind of the reason the movie got made, because it had been so many years since he had been able to make a film. We used to go out like almost every other Friday night. We'd go out to dinner, Mexican restaurant. And I would hear him talking about all these film projects that were almost going to happen and then fell through, or they happened with someone else. Like he was going to direct Buffalo 66. And then Vincent Gallo wound up directing himself in it. And there were all these projects. And I said, Jesus, Monty is such a great filmmaker. I'm going to make a movie with him. And I'm not going to say to him, this isn't going to happen. Like that I failed, I let you down. And that literally was what actually motivated me to get the movie done. I was like, I can't go to Monty and let him down, because I'd seen it happen so many, many times. And we got to make the movie, and he got to direct again, and then went on to do his last feature film, Road to Nowhere, with our friend Steve Gatos and his daughter Melissa. But Monty's gone, Ken Russell's gone, Henry Gibson is in the film, is gone, John Saxon. Was super lucky to work with these people. I mean, John Saxon, my younger brother, who's in the film as well, is an actor. Literally, after every take, he would just come over to me and mouth, "I'm working with John Saxon." John Saxon. And I felt the same way. I was like, and I had to say, John was the sweetest guy. Oh my God. He would actually come over to me, because I was also the writer and one of the producers. And after every take, he'd go, do you think that my performance was okay? Because I was thinking this. He was like, it's like he was a young actor starting out. He's like, maybe I should do it this way. What do you think? Is that really what you meant when you wrote this? And I had to say, I was in awe that I was actually sitting there talking to John Saxon. But two, he was so committed to his craft. He was clearly such a dedicated actor. And you would think, oh my God, at that point, he literally made 150, maybe 200 films and TV performances. I mean, he could literally phone it. He could text his performance. And he was a complete opposite. He was so involved and so dedicated. So to me, it's like, it's great to be able to kind of watch it again. It is bittersweet to see absent friends, but that's going to be really fun to put out. So
it's amazing. Happy for you.
Saxon worked with Bava and Argento and Wes Craven. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Dennis Bartok.
I'll tell you a really funny thing. Because of course, Joe Dante being a walking encyclopedia of film history, we were shooting at Universal for the the scenes that are kind of the wraparound that Joe Dante was directing on the movie studio tour. Ironically, on some outdoor sets that were destroyed in the disastrous fire that also happened to, without Universal telling anyone, burn up all of the like original audio masters for, I don't know, like, Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday and like Tom Petty and Nirvana. You remember it came out a couple of years ago. So there was a fire that destroyed these sets and then burned up a warehouse filled with thousands of master recordings.
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
They didn't tell anybody.
Of course not.
Yeah. So, and by like every famous musician and band of like the past 40, 50 years. But we shot on some of those unfortunately now destroyed outdoor sets. At one point, John was walking up a flight of stairs and Joe Dante stopped him and he said, hey, John, you walked up that exact same set of stairs in 1958. It's like Universal romantic comedy. Stopped and said, really? Just like, yeah. I went back and I checked it, and then that was the exact same flight of steps. Said, okay, this is insane. That was great. That's kind of why you love the movie industry, is that it has so many layers of history and memory. So
all these future titles will be available through Diabolic for the limited edition. With those, you're going to have longer books. You're going to have, I think you said a hard box too, right?
Yeah, it's going to be, the limited editions now are going to have a hard box slipcase, and then a book, the minimum 60-page perfect bound book with, we're trying to get 2 like longer essays in each one, obviously photos and extra bits, so it'll be a nice thick book that comes with every one of the limited editions. And then the box art, we'll be commissioning new art for those.
Nice.
So that it's difficult to wrangle artists. I did it for years prior to Death Crocodile, and so I've come to expect it, but it can be difficult to like give an artist a deadline. They don't like those. But it's working out. We got some very cool new artwork coming for the limited editions.
Well, and one more thing, we got all these future titles we're talking about, but also we just got a brand new title announced with OCN, and I'm dying to hear how Dennis explains what Kin-dza-dza is. Can you tell everybody about Kin-dza-dza?
Kin-dza-dza is like Andrei Tarkovsky directing Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. It's the Samuel Beckett of Soviet sci-fi films. It is like Waiting for Godot on on a set on Tatooine from the original Star Wars. It's a couple average Moscow residents, a construction foreman and a poor Georgian student who just happens to be carrying a violin case. So he's called the violinist, but he's like, I can't play a note of violin. And it becomes a running gag. And they meet a homeless man who's got this weird gizmo, and in a flash, they're transported across the galaxy to an alien planet called Plut, which is kind of completely barren, sort of post-apocalyptic in a kind of road warrior way, but it's completely
there's some incredible visuals that are kind of George Miller-esque visuals throughout it too, as well. It's quite a film.
Oh, it's great, and where things like common household matches are like the most valuable commodity, and clearly it's. The entire film was a kind of satire or parable for the dysfunction of the Soviet state at that time. And it's sort of like one of the last films of the Soviet Union. It was made a couple of years before the Soviet Union collapsed. but it clearly is a kind of metaphor for how dysfunctional things were at that time. And it's really famous in Russia, where people are constantly literally quoting the lines. They know all the dialogue off by heart, and there's an invented language for the film, and it's really amazing movie. And I have to say, the thing that I am so excited about with this movie, besides the fact that we're putting it out because it's a great film, is that we tracked down one of the leads in the film, Leo Gabriadze.
No way.
Who is the son of the writer of the film, Rezo Gabriadze. And Leo himself went on later to become a director, and now is the creative director of his father's puppet theater in Tbilisi, Georgia. And as far as I know, I don't think Leo has ever given an interview. He's about working on Kin-dza-dza. He's incredibly shy. It's one of the few acting roles that he ever did. And I have to say, it was incredibly difficult to convince him to talk to us. And when he did, it was a lovely conversation. Like, he talked for over an hour and shared all sorts of wonderful stories. But the fact that we were able to actually get to him and it was so difficult to convince him. And then he finally said, okay, yeah, I'll do this. And told all these wonderful stories about the making of Kin-dza-dza. So yeah, we're really excited that that's going to come out and people will get to see it. So
yeah, it's a super, super cool film.
And that will be out by the time this airs, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is.
Yes. Early April. Yes, that will be out.
I'm so excited for everybody else to see this. While I was working on the visual essay for it, my wife kept checking in because I was trying to get the timing of the coo sound in one of the songs that they do just perfect. And she's like, I've heard you say that like 40 times. What is this movie? And I laughed because obviously she's never seen it. And I said, don't worry, it's a dry movie. And then just kind of laughed knowing that that's like an inside joke and she has no clue what I'm saying about that in regards to the film. This movie's amazing. I really hope people check it out because it is gorgeous and steampunk and just interesting visually on every level, and so odd, like what they did to make choices to make everything work, and they really went for it. There's nothing about this that isn't earnest. It's a super fun movie.
Yeah, I'd seen clips from it and I'd seen stills from it, and then when I finally did sit down and watch it, some of the visuals really blew me away. I was like, that is absolutely gorgeous. Like, just some incredible visuals that for whatever reason, when you see clips from the film, those aren't the clips they show.
Right.
Which is nice. At least it gives people something to look forward to.
Well, one of the things I learned from speaking with Leo is that so they shot it way out in the desert where there's only oil drilling going on. So there was some abandoned or wrecked machinery they were able to incorporate, but pretty much they had to fly everything else in. And he said that the main spacecrafts in the film were created. They bought an old Soviet bomber in Moscow, and then they cut it up and welded it together to make these rusted, kind of post-apocalyptic vehicles, and then ship them many, many hours out into the desert for this film, which is kind of amazing. There's a Ferris wheel in the movie.
It's huge.
And so I said, there wasn't a Ferris wheel in the middle of the desert. Did you guys make it there? He said, no, they bought it, disassembled it, and flew. They had to fly.
Oh my God.
Cargo plane. This Ferris wheel. So that was great.
Yeah. It's amazing what filmmakers were able to do before CGI.
Right.
A lot of this stuff can be done.
Well, and the earnestness behind every film in the Deaf Crocodile catalog is, I think, something that really ties it all together. From the first couple titles to what's been announced, there's I don't know. There's something special about it, and it's one of those rare, one of the OC and partner labels where it seems like a lot of people that buy one or two seem to go all in for pretty much every title. So I'm hoping people understand there's no loss of quality that's going to be happening. In fact, it seems like it's going to be a step up. One of the big things is it still going to be one title a month, or are we planning something different than that?
We're hoping to be able to do more than one.
I don't want to put too much on your plate there, Craig. I saw your eyes glaze over there.
I'll allow it.
If we can, we'll do more than one, but no promises, because there's only 24 hours in a day, and you're looking at all of Death Crocodile right now. So.
This is the big brain trust.
So yeah, we do want to be able to work the schedule and maybe find some films that don't need full restorations from us, that'll be easier to fill in, and so we can try and work out more than one a month, but it's a hope. It's not a guarantee.
Right.
See, Craig is our secret weapon because he really is a wizard at restoration. And so when people see the Pied Piper, when they see a lot of these releases that have come out, Visitors from the Arcana Galaxy, you're seeing hundreds and hundreds of incredible hours of restoration wizardry on his part. Like honestly, we could not release most of what we've put out without Craig's artistry and expertise. Solomon King could not have done. I mean, so that's such a huge ace up our sleeve that Craig is able to restore these films so beautifully and is a perfectionist. So he's usually tweaking things right before we send them to David Mackenzie, Fidelity in Motion. He's like,
"Oh yeah, David has got incredible patience." It's like I'm like, "Yeah, I'm working on it. I'll get it to you as soon as I can." Although we need to Tyler Fagerstrom needs a shout out. He does a lot of our color work, and Solomon King couldn't have happened without Tyler's. He's just amazing with what he can do with color grading, and through Cinelicious, and then through the years working with him, it wasn't. He didn't start off with the color grading restoration. He was color grading new features and commercials, and we just kept throwing stuff at him and saying, "Hey, can you fix this?" And he's become quite the expert at it now. And yeah, I'd be lost without him.
I have to say, and hopefully you can tell, that we get really excited because we're film lovers. And I think the great thing about Jesse is, as long as we've known him, is that clearly, Jesse, you still love movies. You haven't gotten jaded or burnt out on films, and we kind of feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm so excited all the time to discover new things. There is such a wealth of films that have yet to be discovered, and I think that's one of the great things about Death Crocodile is the curation is just so great. There's all these gems you guys have unearthed that finally are finding an audience here in the States.
I have to say that is one of the super exciting things, because you think, okay, we think we've exhausted this, this vein, it's like a vein of silver or gold ore, and then somebody will email into us and suggest 15 titles, none of which we've ever heard.
That's actually worth mentioning. Yeah, we get emails, not daily, but almost daily at this point, from somebody, either emails or messages on social media, like, "Oh, have you looked at this film? Have you checked out this film? I love all these other films you did. You probably would like these." And there's some gems in there that we've never, like, stuff Dennis hasn't even heard of, that's not easy to do.
Right.
And we'll look at it. We're like, hey, that looks kind of cool. We should look into that. So yeah, keep the suggestions coming, everyone. It's really helpful. Because nobody knows everything. So yeah, using the hive mind to find stuff is really important.
I hope you give us more Bill Plimpton. It sounds like he's into it.
We hope so. We hope so for sure. I was very happy when you interviewed him, where he seemed open to the idea as well. Yeah. So I was like, yes, please. We would love to do more.
We've floated it to him. We're like, we would love to continue putting out Bill Plimpton movies. So I think he was so busy with finishing Slide.
Slide was really taking up 100%. Like, he was completely focused on getting that wrapped up, and I was lucky they screened it in LA and I got to see it. It's a fun movie.
It's still out there winning awards right now.
Yeah, it's fun. But I gotta say, like we were saying before, like sometimes as much as we love the features, some of the extras that we have on the discs are just as good. And I've watched Guard Dog on the Tune. I could watch that thing just in a loop. It's so good. And I mean, I'm a cat person, but I do love dogs, and that is so funny and cute, and it's got the dark sense of humor, which is just like I said, I could put that on a loop and just watch it over and over and over.
Agreed.
Jesse, I was going to ask, is there anything that you've watched on disc recently that really blew you away?
I saw this odd movie called The Mysterious Castle in the Carpathians that I really like. That's actually true.
It is really odd. It's really fun. It's like a goth. It's sort of like a goth steampunk Benny Hill episode or something. It's so bizarre. Weird. It shouldn't work, but it does. It's really, really wonderful.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. You know what else I watched recently that I really liked was The Lady Killers, which is kind of out of what I would normally watch. I don't know what made me put it on, but it's the Alec Guinness movie where they are renting a boarding house from this sweet old lady, and kind of nothing goes right with this heist that they've got planned, and mostly because she's so into their business. But I really liked it. It's so charming. Was Alec Guinness ever young? That movie was made 30 years before Star Wars, and I think he looks older in the movie than he does as Obi-Wan, which was odd.
If you see him in I think he's in Great Expectations and the Oliver Twist, the David Lean versions. David Lean ones, yeah. Technically, he was young. I don't think he looked particularly young. He's
the oldest Pip in all of all time.
Yes, he is. I love The Lady Killers. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it was really great.
That 4K looked pretty excellent. I don't know if that's the one you watched. That Studio Canal 4K is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I have so much of my collection is things that arrive to me in a condition that I can't sell.
Right.
But I can still watch them. So, I have so many scratch and dent things sitting on my shelf that I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with this, but I guess I'm going to watch it at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Glad you got to that one.
One of the ones that really stuck out for me is I watched Richard Lester's Juggernaut with Richard Harris and Omar Sharif and a young Anthony Hopkins. You ever seen it? It's mid-70s. Technically, it's a disaster film because it's about someone who plants 7 canisters of explosives on a luxury liner at sea, and of course, blackmails the British government, or they'll set off these canisters. And Richard Harris is a bomb disposal expert who, with his team, including David Hemmings, is helicoptered onto the boat. But it's much closer in tone to something like The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. It's really kind of lean and dark. It's really impressive. I mean, I love 70s disaster films. I love, The Towering Inferno and The Poseidon Adventure, and, But
I bought the Bucks, the disaster films Bucks that came out. Was it last year?
Yeah.
I bought that for my brother for Christmas because I remember he always liked disaster films.
All the Irwin Allen ones, right?
Yeah, the Irwin Allen box set.
Towering Out, and Towering Inferno, and those are great. When I was a kid, I was kind of obsessed with the airport movies. I don't know what it was about them, but I just was, and they frightened me, and I hated getting on an airplane after watching this. I'm going to be at the bottom of the ocean. I mean, I'm flying from here to Texas, but somehow I'm going to be on the bottom of the ocean.
What's your favorite?
Honestly, it has been so long since I watched any of those, but the one where they crash into the ocean is the one that always comes up.
That is our favorite too. I think it's 77.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, and that one's Jimmy Stewart, and that one's top notch.
If you want to be terrified of getting on a plane again, watch This Week Tonight. His episode last week was about Boeing.
Oh yeah,
it's terrifying.
I was the idiot when I lived in Southern California when the Northridge quake happened, and then I don't know if it was a morbid curiosity, but I was stuck on that movie Earthquake for like the 4 years following that. I was the only kid in elementary school just rewatching Earthquake for some reason. Loved it.
He goes after it's Ava Gardner, right?
I think so.
Yeah. It's like his wife that he's cheating on, and instead he dives in and they both drown together, which I was like, that's better.
The only scene I remember from that film is when they're walking across the dam and it starts to crack. I just remember that image vividly for some reason.
Oddly, I've never seen the Italian. I think it's a Diodato movie. There's the airport movie that he ripped off. It's like the Concorde Affair, or
oh wow,
yeah. There is an Italian ripoff of the airport movies that I've never seen. I don't know. I mean, it's right in my wheelhouse. I don't know why I've never seen it.
No, I got to track this puppy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to track it out too. I have the soundtrack to it someplace.
It's also kind of in that. It's. I guess you'd definitely call it a disaster movie. Is the Cassandra Crossing?
Yeah.
George Cosmatos. That's a damn good film. Cosmatos was a really good, solid genre filmmaker.
Totally.
He made some good movies.
He did. I mean, and even if you want to talk about Tombstone or Leviathan, those movies are great. I love them.
Tombstone's, oh my God.
Yeah, Tombstone's kind of shockingly good. It's better than it should be.
How Val Kilmer did not get nominated and win an Oscar.
Yeah, it's insane.
For Doc Holliday, he's great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that he's a great actor, but his performance as Doc Holliday is truly brilliant.
He's put in some other really good performances.
Val Kilmer can really bring it. I thought
he's really good in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, actually.
Another absolute favorite of mine.
Yeah, he's really good.
Ryan's face is kind of looking like, Val Kilmer sucks.
No, I was stuck on what Jesse was talking about, and I just found Concorde Affair 79 and found out Mimsy Farmer is second billed in that.
Oh, Mimsy Farmer. Wow, is she in More? I think the Barbet Schroeder film. I believe
so.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah,
and Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Yeah, she's definitely into Italian, genre films as well.
Sounds like it'd be a fun
I've never seen More. More is a great sort of psychedelic drug movie.
Yeah,
that's a terrific film.
Something.
early Barbet Schroeder movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is about to be midnight for Jesse. I
Jesse
know
is
we're discussing Val Kilmer.
Don't feed me after midnight.
Any more news that we would like to pass on about the future?
He doesn't need anything.
I mean, whoa, sorry guys. I was looking up Mimsy Farmer and IMDb played some music.
You're going down the Mimsy Farmer rabbit hole.
Yeah. When this airs, we'll still have the pre-order up for Ninja Terminator, which is our collaboration with Jared from Mondo Macabro, that we call that the Neon Eagle label, where we're kind of focusing on trashy Asian cinema, and it's due out in April. We just watched the check disc, and honestly, I don't think I'd ever seen the movie before. There's so many of those IFD movies where they cobble together, some other movie and
right,
got some American actors and made it a completely different movie. But it's great. It's so much fun, and it really has, I think, an influence on Mortal Kombat, because all the ninjas can, shoot smoke out of their swords or fire, and they're teleporting all over the place, and it's wild. And the one guy's always got a suit on, which kind of fascinated me for some reason. He's always fighting in a suit. Spoiler: his suit gets ripped at one point. He gets really mad. And then we have the Houses of Doom box set, which was a Italian television series where Fulci made 2 movies and Umberto Lenzi made 2 movies, and then they decided they were too violent for Italian television and just kind of went into the vaults. And they've been floating around on DVD for a long time. But they told us that no one had ever gone back and scanned the negatives, that they were, any release had just been an old video master. So we were really thrilled to get a crack at those. And they were in great condition, except they were just dusty from sitting around. I don't know how that happens, how these films get dust, many layers into them, but it happens. So, that box set's coming out hopefully before July, but July is the projected date, and that's a Cauldron Films proper release. And I'll give a shout out to my partner, Brian Izzy, who, much like Craig, is the whiz here at Cauldron, and has brought so many things back to life here that were just so dirty and scratchy, and we thought they were never going to see the light of day, and spent so many hours just going frame by frame and cleaning these things up. In fact, you two, Craig and Brian, should get together and have tea. I'm sure you'd have lots to talk about. So that's what's going on in the Cauldron realm. And Diabolic, of course, is just chugging along with, we are in such a golden era of everything that's coming out. It's just really amazing. Every time something gets announced, I'm just thrilled. Not just because I'm going to sell it and make money, but also because, hey, I'm going to see this movie. I can't believe that someone's doing this. It's terrific.
Well, maybe, just as an inside thing, that might be a good thing to end this on, because obviously the last 25, 30 years has been physical media, home videos dying. But it seems like there is, for the first time in quite some time, a little bit of an upswing happening. And I would imagine the three of you obviously see this, but there are, these once in a lifetime titles that people said would never happen. I mean, even the Houses of Doom thing, the fact that we live in a world where that's not only getting a release, but a 6-disc hard box extravagant, oh my God, this is incredible release. That wouldn't have happened 10 years ago.
And from the negative.
From the negative. And that's something that we don't stress enough for sure.
Yeah. That's key.
So how do you guys feel about the optimism of the next few years? Because I know obviously there was a interview with a couple people in the last couple of years that said basically a lot of these companies would be gone in the next handful of years. And it seems like we're kind of refuting that every day at the moment.
I think maybe there's a little too many cooks right now. We'll see what happens with that, but I'm here for it. I mean, everybody dipping in here and looking for things and finding these movies, it's terrific. And I think back to when we started at Diabolic and how few labels there were doing anything. Anchor Bay was kind of the big one. And in a lot of ways, Anchor Bay is kind of the patron saint of everything that's going on right now, because if it wasn't for them and David Gregory and Bill Lustig and kind of saving all these things, that who knows what there would be without those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember when they first started putting out their Hammer releases.
Yeah.
And that was so exciting to see so many of those Hammer films, done justice, and this great clamshell VHS releases, and then there's a DVD. So
yeah, it was Anchor Bay was something.
So
that's off. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
In typical fashion, we had 4 people that like talking about movies, and we're an hour 22 minutes in, and I just realized there's 2 important things that we forgot to mention at all. Well, we get sidetracked very easily.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to be offering a subscription.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So yeah, that was probably worth mentioning about an hour ago. So we're going to have two flavors available, 6 months and 12 months, and that'll guarantee you the limited edition of every title for either 6 months or 12 months, or one a month, guaranteed one a month, because we did talk about hopefully being able to do more. And if we are, those we'll have a coupon code for people to get a good discount on if there's an extra disc that month. But it'll guarantee you the limited edition. You haven't got to worry about that selling out or anything. And then we've been putting, the movie trading cards in shipments that we send out. So we're going to create a nice collectible, foil stamped or hologram or some sort of cool trading card just for the subscribers. And what am I to make sure I'm not missing anything? So that'll once the this goes out, it'll be open to enroll for that, and the enrollment will close June 30th. So we've got about 2 months to decide if you want the 6 months or the 12 month, and then it'll start with the Savage Hunter King Stack would be the first shipment of the subscription. So yeah, people have been asking about it, and we're trying to figure out how we could make sure it could do it. And it's a huge part of it is being able to have Jesse on board.
Right.
There's I'm working on that today, actually.
Yeah, there's only so much packing and shipping I can do from home on my own while I'm supposed to be restoring a film. So yeah, we're excited to be able to offer that coming up. And then we did, Dennis and I did discuss that we probably could and or should mention the worst kept secret release that we're going to be doing. So yes, in fact, officially, we are going to be releasing Felidae.
What?
It'll be our first 4K HDR Dolby Vision. We've got gorgeous, beautiful 4K scans from the original negative, and I was looking through them. I haven't really dove into the restoration of it yet, but the scans look incredible. It's going to be a beautiful release. It was weird. I was trying to find somebody who worked on it, because Dennis did interview the director, but I was trying to find maybe some of the animators, and I was looking at IMDb, and there's a long list of names, and I literally just randomly picked one and Googled and sent an email, and he got back to me and put us in touch with like 6 other people. So we've got this incredible, like, Dennis conducted like a roundtable discussion with all the animators.
Wow.
Talking about the film, which was this year's its 30th anniversary. So it was kind of this cool little 30-year reunion for all these guys who are now all around the world getting together and talking about the film, and really, really cool interview with all those guys. I told you we commissioned new artwork for the special editions. Super exciting about this one is we've got the character designer for the film is going to be doing the cover art. So yeah,
That's amazing.
It's so rare.
I'm a animation geek, a crazy cat person, and a film buff. So you have no idea how excited I am about this release.
Another cat movie.
We're actually going to have 3 animated cat features.
Yeah, we do have another one.
It's completely accidental. It's totally accidental.
If you want to tell them,
we are thinking about putting out an animated cat box.
Yeah.
With, I don't know, little like furry
right?
ears on it or paws or something.
We'll just put a little bag of catnip in every box.
Yeah, so weird that we're going to put out 3 cartoon cat features.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. But yeah, I'm very excited about Felidae. And with all the animators we got in touch with, we've got like this treasure trove of sketches and character designs and storyboards and I mean, I don't know yet, but I mean, we have so much stuff that the 60-page book might have to be more than 60 pages for this one, because there's so much stuff. So yeah, 4K, HDR, Dolby Vision, cats.
Boy George theme song.
Oh yeah, the theme song.
Boy George.
The theme song to Felidae, the film, the German film, has an English opening title song by Boy George.
Wow.
It's amazing. I mean, I was looking through some of the sketches that he had sent us, and he's got some early design sketches, and he's got a little word balloon around it, and it says, "I look a little too much like a Don Bluth character, don't I?" Which, because we're talking to the animators, and the weird thing about the film is that they all came from Don Bluth, but also there was this weird discord, but like everyone knew, like, this is a really dark movie.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to get away from the Don Bluth look. So it's, and then when they said when the movie came out, like, the poster with the happy little cat, and they're like, what are you doing? Because they said they had people, like, parents taking their kids out of the theater because they're like,
oh yeah, this
is not what you sold us.
Dissections. There's it's much more like Plague Dogs, Watership Down. It is definitely like an R-rated Don Bluth movie.
Yeah. So the animation style does shift. So there's the main story, which is very Don Bluth looking, but there's a series of dream sequences where Francis, the lead cat, has nightmares, and they have a completely different animation style that's really, those dream sequences are absolutely incredible. I'm very excited about this film. You can probably tell.
Me too. I tried tracking down the novel recently, and that thing is hard to get a good copy of.
I've seen it pop up on eBay occasionally, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if they're English translated though.
Yeah, half are, half aren't. That's the hard part.
We even found a I don't know if it's an official, but there was a graphic novel.
Oh, that's right. It was the Felidae comic book. Yeah.
There's a comic book adaptation of the book, which follows, and we talked about it. That some of the character designs in the comic are based on the book. So, like Francis the lead cat is he's like an orange tabby in the comic because he's not in the movie. So there's some differences between the two. I was going to try and see if, I don't think it's official. So it's certainly the English version, I think, is just somebody on their own translated it and posted it online. So I don't think there's an official English version. But yeah, very excited.
So we are super stoked to be working with Jesse.
Yeah.
It's mutual. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's like a whole new era. You know, we've actually really enjoyed working with OCN and Vinegar Syndrome. It gave us a chance to sort of kind of, you know, get established, start to spread our wings. I think this is, you know, good time for us to be, you know, moving on and trying new things, and certainly working with Jesse is like is super exciting for us.
Yeah, thanks. Same.
Do we forget anything else, Craig, before we wrap it
Those
up?
are the two things I thought of. It's like, oh, we were supposed to mention those.
Well, as we mentioned during the show, check out Deaf Crocodile through Diabolic. Check out the subscription. You got the next couple months to look into that. As Jesse mentioned, look into Neon Eagle and Cauldron. Lots of cool stuff coming out the rest of the year, I'm sure. All three of you, I really just want to say to everybody watching, support boutiques that love movies. Support boutiques that love the people that support them. And you can tell, you know, when you're getting some of these choices made, it's clear that they are passionate about these like we are. So I appreciate what all three of you do, and hope for a very successful immediate future.
Yeah, I just recently tweeted. I saw unpacking up orders and like just seeing the same names every month. It's just like, I was like, that's just awesome. I'm like, it's so cool to see that, you know, there's people, and a lot of people, the online shop allows them to put notes, and you know, sometimes it'll be like ring the doorbell, but a lot of times people are just writing these like really nice notes thanking us, and it's really nice, like
and ring the doorbell
and ring the doorbell.
I really love what you guys are doing. Make sure to ring the doorbell.
Put it in the wooden box to the left of the gate behind the hose.
There are some that are very specific, and they're like, I'm like, do you think I'm hand delivering this thing? I do.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I call your mail carrier and let him give that note.
But it's very nice. It's like the vast majority of people I've interacted with have been super nice, super supportive, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we also have just such great customers, except for the ones I post about on my Facebook. Sincerely though, it really is. It's such a great camaraderie of people. It's the community of collectors and film lovers, and it's really great.
Well, thank you all. I know everybody needs some sleep, so thank you all for doing this.
Jesse, thank you for staying up. Brian,
yes, thank you
so much for everything you do to help promote and champion these releases and independent labels and everybody. You do an amazing job. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan is. There was I think it's been proven to be faked, but there was an image that came out on the internet of him sleeping, and everyone knows that that's not possible with all the things he's doing to have time to sleep.
I'm going to end the recording so there's no more evidence of that. Thank you. Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share it with someone else that may appreciate this.